Good morning, everyone. It's almost 10 a.m. Thank you for starting the recording, Rebecca. I'll go ahead and now it's 10 a.m. Start the public hearing. So this meeting is being recorded and is now called to order officially. This is the time for a public hearing for application number 18624000572 PLNG, which is a request by Joshua Partee for a variance to a standard requiring 2 off-street parking spaces for single-family dwellings, pursuant to Clatsop County Code 30060. The property that is the subject of the request is located at 71978 North Shore Drive, Birkenfeld, Oregon 97016, and is also known as Assessor's Map, Township 6 North, Range 6 West, Section 01AA, Tax Plat number 2700. My name is Rebecca Dorman, and I'm the hearings officer presiding over this hearing. I will make a decision which approves with conditions, or denies the application. I will consider the evidence in the record as applied to the relevant approval criteria as identified just now, well, as identified in the public notice of this hearing and the staff report. The hearings officer's decision is appealable to the Board of County Commissioners. The hearing will be conducted in the following order. First, we'll hear a presentation from staff, followed by a presentation from the applicant, then any public testimony. I don't see that we have anyone else here, but we'll call for that just in case. Then I'll ask staff for a response to any testimony that we've heard and maybe any clarifications that might be needed at that point. Then we'll give applicant a chance to have a final rebuttal if necessary.
Hey, Rebecca.
Yes.
You're really breaking up. I don't know if it's my connection. I'm going to switch Wi-Fi network to see if that works a little bit. I hope I don't get dropped, but I'm getting like every third word. Give me one second.
Sorry. David, are you able to hear me?
Rebecca, you actually sound fine, and Josh, you sound like you're breaking up a little bit, so that's probably the issue.
Yeah, sometimes if we drop the video, that can help, and that's fine with me. I'm not gonna, so long as you can hear me, I think is the most important part, and that I can hear you. I think you might be kind of frozen right now.
All right. Can you
Kind of like in and out. We'll give you a couple minutes. Take your time.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I was just kind of going over the
Fingers crossed. It's snowing in Portland.
Yeah. We're getting some weather. So I was just kind of going over the procedure for today. You will get a chance to have kind of the final word is what we say, applicant. And then if we're ready, we'll close the record and close the hearing, and then I'll work on issuing a decision. So it doesn't look like we have very many presentations today. So I'm not going to set any time limits, but just try to be succinct and know that I'll review whatever has been submitted into the record. If you've already provided written testimony in support of the application, that will be taken into consideration. Please state your name and address before you speak for the record. Please direct all testimony to the applicable criteria. If you think some other criteria applies, just say so and then explain why. Failure to raise an issue here with enough detail may preclude raising the issue later in an appeal to the Board of Commissioners and then to the board, to the Land Use Board of Appeals. Failure to raise a constitutional or other issue relating to a proposed condition of approval could preclude taking that issue to circuit court for damages. If we need to leave the record open, if someone wants to leave the record open, they need to make that request before the close of the hearing today. And if that request is made, then we'll talk about an open record schedule after the presentations. And I need to state as the hearings official on the record that I have no conflicts of interest with this application, meaning I have no financial interest in the property, nor do any of my family members or businesses with which I am associated. I do not own property in Clatsop County. I have no direct interest in the outcome. I have not conducted a site visit, and I have not had any communications outside of this hearing regarding the substance of the application. I have been in touch with county staff to just work on the logistics of scheduling this hearing, but we have not discussed the substance of the application. I will, like, as I said, I will review all of the submittals in the record thoroughly and consider the testimony and evidence presented during this hearing when drafting the decision. I'm capable of issuing a fair, objective, and impartial decision. And before we begin, does anyone want to challenge my ability to hear the matter? Not seeing any objections. Thank you. Now we can move forward to staff report, please, Mr. Cook.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is David Cook, Senior Planner with Clatsop County Community Developments, and I'll be giving a short presentation on the subject application, which is a variance for property owner Josh Partee. Josh Partee, the owner of the property located at 71978 North Shore Drive, Birkenfeld, submitted a variance application to our department on November 13th, 2024. Mr. Partee has requested a variance from the county's off-street parking requirements. The Land and Water Development and Use Code, or LAWDUC for short, implements land use regulations for development within Clatsop County and requires a minimum of 2 off-street parking spaces be provided for new single-family dwellings. This requirement can be found under LAWDUC section 3.0060. Off-street parking space means a 9-foot by 19-foot area, which is reserved for the parking of vehicles on the property where a single-family dwelling is proposed. Mr. Partee has applied for a variance to this requirement and requests 0 off-street parking spaces. Mr. Partee has instead proposed 2 on-street parking spaces adjacent to his property at 71978 North Shore Drive, which would be used to park vehicles for a future single-family dwelling. North Shore Drive terminates in a cul-de-sac near Mr. Partee's property. This cul-de-sac has not been fully developed with pavement, and Mr. Partee proposes to create 2 on-street parking spaces adjacent to his property and in the right-of-way of North Shore Drive, but outside of the existing improved surface of North Shore Drive. In his application materials, Mr. Partee has provided topographic surveys which show his property as having an average slope of about 60%. The slope starts within the right-of-way of North Shore Drive and trends steeply downward toward Fishhawk Lake to the south. Mr. Partee argues that no parking can be provided off of the street because the slope makes it impossible to drive a vehicle onto his property. The topographic surveys and arguments made by Mr. Partee are found in attachment A of the staff report prepared on January 29th. Staff have made findings of fact in support of the variance request and recommends approval subject to conditions found on page 10 of the staff report. And staff are here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. I will ask one question for just my own information. Do you know of any applications that in the past in Clatsop County that have approved a variance for the off-street parking standard?
No, staff is not aware of a variance issued for the reduction of off-street parking spaces. I will say that Mr. Partee in his application materials had found another property within the Fishhawk Lake community which had on-street parking spaces only. Staff found that that was a property on the eastern edge of the county line, so it's actually across into Columbia County. So it's not something we looked into further here in Clatsop County.
I see that Miss Henriksen has her hand raised.
Yes, thank you. For the record, Gail Henriksen, Community Development Director for Clatsop County. There was a parking variance for a restaurant that was in our rural community of Westport, and that was in 2019. And they had a parking variance to allow their parking to be across Highway 101 from the restaurant on the south side of the highway.
Just for, again, I asked the question just kind of for my own background and information, but it would be interesting for me to be able to see that restaurant example, if we could add that into the record for my own, not that it's analogous exactly to the situation, but just for an example from the county. And then, Mr. Cook, I was gonna ask you about a little more information about where the on-street parking proposed will be located. It sounds like it's not on the paved, improved part of the drive, but still within the public right of way. Just trying to get a sense of that a little bit more.
Yeah, that's correct. And let me, I'll try and show a picture here. This is actually on page 2 of the staff report from January 29th. Hopefully this image looks okay on the
Yeah,
screen I'm sharing.
you can
So
see it.
this yellow boxed area is where Mr. Partee is proposing on-street parking. He's delineated the edge of the pavement as this gray line coming up here, and the on-street parking located here off of the pavement. But the actual right-of-way cul-de-sac of North Shore Drive is this circle right there, if you see my cursor kind of moving around. And there's some other photos of it if I can scroll without giving anybody motion sickness. Here's another image. This is the original topographic survey that Mr. Partee provided, showing kind of the same thing. And then there are some photos of it. A little tougher to tell from these photos, but they're nice aerial imagery taken by Mr. Partee, where you can see sort of the edge of pavement coming along here in this section here where the car is parked, and then on-street parking would be provided in this sort of rectangle zone over here.
Mhm. Okay. And last question for now. The adjacent lots on either side of the subject property, are they developed with the house?
No, there are no adjacent properties that are developed near this one. It's all pretty wooded and steep.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you so much for all the information, and we'll see if we have any more questions. And I'm gonna ask Mr. Partee if you would like to provide a presentation today.
I'm sorry, you're asking me if I had a presentation?
Yes. You just want to talk about the proposal?
Let's see here. Yeah, I think it's all laid out pretty well, and David and his team did a really thorough job with their report. The only thing I would add is that while I am excited about the opportunity to provide a remedy for the parking standard, I'm hoping that that doesn't sort of delay my development by it being a condition. I was hoping to get on contractor schedules this year, perhaps for development, and where I'm going to, where I'm recommending putting the parking is also have to trench for electrical. I guess it's just an order of operations thing, and I'm curious if it has to be conditioned that the parking be built first, or if they can happen currently, or if the parking requirement can just be simply removed and there's no condition. Absolutely, I'm going to provide the parking, and it's taken me a number of years to, adjust the property line and get to this point so that I can provide adjacent exclusive parking. But I'm just hoping that the remedy I provided doesn't also slow down development plans by having to do that and complete it prior to moving forward. But of course, I leave that up to you guys. Happy to move forward either way, but if they could be done concurrently, that would be for me. But yeah, any other questions you have? I know it's a very unusual site and condition. So yeah, you could reach out after if you've got questions that's for some reason David can't answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Partee. Then I guess I will ask then, Mr. Cook, if you have any response to what Mr. Partee just provided, and I may have a couple more questions for you then.
Sure, thank you. As far as staff are concerned, the parking needs to be provided at the time that a single-family dwelling application is submitted to us. A single-family dwelling in this zone would fall under a Type 1 permit procedure, which means that the requirements of certain features are kind of self-evident. They're there, you can clearly see where they are. So we need to have the parking spaces delineated and improved at the time of an application for a single family dwelling. Now, if Mr. Partee wants to do other smaller things like certain utility work to prepare the site for a future single family dwelling, that doesn't have a parking requirement to it. So he's welcome to pursue those options before parking spaces are made.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Yeah, I guess I would for this conversation, usually when I've seen variance requests, it's been kind of a consolidated application for some actual development. And the variance is kind of going along with that development permit. And so in this case, like Mr. Partee, I think you were explaining, you're trying to get this kind of figured out first, if a variance is possible, before moving forward then with the actual development of the property. And I just wanted to talk about that, about how a variance kind of outside of a development permit, how that works. And this would be kind of a variance for the lot that might then just go along with this lot, kind of run with the land. And then I guess my question, as I'm talking out loud about this, is there's no expiration attached to the variance once it's granted, not like a permit that would need to be exercised within so many years, couple of years before an extension or an expiration might be an issue. I feel like the variance is more of a just an entitlement that might go along with the property. And Mr. Cook, I'm going to ask you if that's tracking with your understanding with the impact of this application if it's approved.
Thank you. Yeah, we actually applied an expiration, or I say the variance is effective for 1 year, or until it's constructed and utilized. And they can apply for a 1-year extension if necessary.
Okay. Then I think that's all I have right now for staff. And I see, Mr. Partee, you have your hand raised, and it's also your opportunity to provide any final rebuttal or argument in support of your application. Go ahead.
Yeah, speaking to what David was just mentioning about having a year to do it, it's my understanding that what the county considers substantial completion is the expenditure of 10% of the project value according to the building code's permit valuation for the project. I just want to verify something like that is the case, so I can work towards that. And I'm wondering if the construction of the on-street parking spaces and the costs associated with that would count towards satisfying that substantial completion number to in the variance so that I can move forward at a comfortable pace with future developments.
Yeah. Since that's kind of a question, for Mr. Cook, I'll let Mr. Cook jump back in here.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up our definition to make sure I read it black and white. Yes, so we do have a provision or a definition for substantial construction, which means that a permit does not expire even if you haven't totally completed it, provided that you have spent in excess of 10% of the construction value of the proposed structure as determined by uniformed building code calculations. So yeah, providing on-street parking and the costs associated with that can be calculated into the total cost of the development for the single-family dwelling.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
Mr. Party, do you have anything else that you would like to say in support of your application?
I don't think so. I think you guys have all the information and have done a great job reviewing it. So just really appreciate your time and the opportunity to
Thank you.
speak here today, and looking forward to your decision.
Great. I will let you know, Mr. Party, that you have the right to submit final written argument in support of your application 7 days after the record closes to all other parties. And you also may waive that that ability. So it's your choice. Would you like for basically that means I would wait to start on the decision until I receive your final written argument, or you can waive that opportunity if you would like.
Gosh, can I get a hint here? Are you looking for any additional information? If you don't need anything else, I'll gladly waive that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's completely up to you. I don't want to sway you one way or the other. It's your right.
All right, I will waive that and let you proceed. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know. Well, then it doesn't sound like we need to leave the record open today. We can close the record, and we can also close the hearing. And I appreciate everyone's time and testimony today, and I'll get working on a decision.
And Rebecca, the other variance that we had done for off-street parking that Gail had mentioned earlier, can I send you a copy of that?
Yeah.
Just right now without hurting the record or anything?
Yeah, I think that that's fine. We've talked about it in this public hearing, and I think, by reference, it's in the record now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Bye-bye.